Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we're going to go ahead and go do a quick course on introduction to programming, specifically focusing on introduction to program using the Python programming language. So if you're out there and wondering why is everybody doing coding these days, coding is everywhere. We have vibe coding, AI agents can write code, and I don't really understand this code. Maybe you want to build an application and AI can build the application, but you want to do some changes that the AI is not really getting. So for this, for you to be able to address these issues, you need to have a bit of understanding of what is programming and how to write code. Right, so this course is aimed for absolute beginners, and I aim to do this course in 30 minutes or less. But if I elapse this time, please forgive me. So this course is part of a deeper. This video is just an introduction, very short crash course on introduction to programming with Python. But I have a full bigger course on introduction to programming with Python that goes in depth, that teaches you everything from the basics, how to install the softwares on your computer, goes all the way to complicated stuff such as object-oriented programming. Let me not scare you away with all these terminologies, but basically you go to the point where you can build your own video games, your own web application, websites, do machine learning or AI projects using Python. So this course is just give you a quick glimpse into the world of programming, specifically focusing on Python. So you don't have to install anything. All you need to follow along is just a Google account, a Gmail account, right? A Gmail email. That's all you need. Okay, so let's jump into it. Let me not waste more of your time, because we only have 30 minutes to do this. So let's jump into it. So let's look at an overview of this crash course. So let's look at the things that we're covering in this video. So we're going to be looking at what is programming, setting up a coding environment, working with variables and data types, control flows, loops, collections, and then we'll have a final project, mini project, to wrap everything up. Okay. So let me go back in here and let's go onto our first objective, which is what is programming. So to explain to you this, I created a cool video that I'm going to be adding to this video so you guys can watch it and gives you a better understanding of programming, right? So I created this video and it's just really a nice video that gives you a good introduction to what programming is. So let's take a look at this video, and from there you can gain a better understanding of what programming is, and if this video is going to be of interest to you or just a waste of your time, and you can decide to skip along or follow along. Okay, so I encourage you to watch the video until the end. Let's get in to see what this video holds.
Hi, welcome to programming. You might wonder what programming is if you've never learned to program. When we write a program, we give the computer a series of commands that look like a weird form of English. You can think of a computer as a very obedient dog, listening to your every command and doing whatever you tell it to do. So what's so cool about programming? Well, it depends on what you think is cool. Because, as it turns out, you can use programming for almost everything. Programs control robots that can take care of patients, and my favorite is robots that can roam around Mars and look for water on the surface. Programs help self-driving cars know how to turn, which is pretty essential. Programs help doctors cure diseases by processing vast amounts of medical data. Programs can be entertaining, games like Doodle Jump, Angry Birds, and Minecraft. Programs make it possible for Pixar to create their incredible 3D animated movies, and for movies like Harry Potter to have such cool special effects. What's your favorite movie? I bet that a computer helped make it somehow. Programs are behind the websites and the apps that you use every day, all the time, like Google Maps, Wikipedia, and YouTube, and of course, where you are now, Codewithprince. On Codewithprince, you'll learn how to write Python programs to make games, web, and AI applications. And that will be a great start towards creating whatever you imagine. It might be hard to see how a drawing program relates to programs for robots or curing diseases. But believe it or not, the same basic concepts are used by every programmer in every program. Once you learn to program Python, you'll be able to learn other programming languages much more quickly. Now you gotta keep going.
Okay guys, so I hope you have learned something from that video, and it was informative. So now that you have a better idea of what programming is and what programming in Python specifically focuses on, let's jump into it. So let's go ahead and simply set up our environment first. So just go to Google and make sure that you have a Gmail account. So go to Google and just search for Google Colab and then press enter. So Google Colab is an online editor that online editor that you can use to edit to write Python coding without having to go through the hassle of installing stuff on your computer and doing all that. So you can just go to Google Colab, create a new notebook, make sure that you have a Gmail account. So once you go ahead and create a new notebook, it's going to take some time and it's going to show you that notebook. Okay, so that notebook is okay, it's taking a bit of time. This is unusual, but anyway, so it gives this a name. So let's say Python. So what you do is just click on this part, and then you can type in, click on this part, and then you can type in the name of that you want to give your file. So the first thing you want to go ahead and do, what is Python, right? So we are learning Python. So most of you know Python like a snake or something, but yeah, but Python is not a snake in our case. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy something, and then I'm going to be adding it right here. So I'm going to go ahead and simply add in some notes for you guys. So double click this, and then I can just go in here and just paste what I have. I copied this from my other screen, so don't worry about it. So this basically just explains to you what is programming, so you don't have to worry about what I'm doing right here. Just kind of ignore it. Okay, so this is not part of programming. Okay, don't let that scare you away. It's not part of programming. It is kind of programming, but it's not part of what you're doing. But I just want you guys to have a quick note so that you guys can follow along and understand things much deeper. So I've zoomed a bit so that you guys can see things much closer. Okay, so once I have this right here, you see, so what is Python? So Python is just a programming language. So what is a programming language? A programming language that is easy to understand. That's what Python is. It's a programming language that is easy to understand, read, and is used widely in data science, AI, machine learning, and all this stuff. They use Python. So Python is just a programming language. So a programming language is just a way for us humans to give instructions to computers to do a certain activity. Okay, so now let's learn to print a simple hello world. So if you have met any program in the world, trust me, this is your first line of code. So it's just simply do print hello world, and then you can go ahead and simply click on this to run it, or you can click shift and enter on your keyboard. So I'm going to be using the shortcut shift and enter, and that runs the code. And what is simply going to go ahead and print to me is just a message, hello world. Okay, so today my computer is acting a bit funny, it's a bit slow, but okay, that's it. You get back hello world, that's it. Or you can click this run, and it's going to execute the code, and it's going to print hello world. So most programmers, this is their first line of code. So congratulations if you are able to execute this. This is your first Python code. Okay, now that you have done this, let's move on and see what's next on the list. So we have set up our environment. Now let's look at some variables and data types in Python. So we have gone ahead and printed hello world. So what is a variable? So a variable is simply a way of storing information in the computer's memory. That's basically what a variable is. So variables store information within computer's memory. So I'm going to go ahead and add for you the same notes right here. So this is going to be variables. And what they simply do, store information in computer memory. This thing is blocking me right here, but hopefully you can see that. So that's basically what a variable is. Stores information within the computer's memory. Okay, so now let's store this message in our memory. So we're going to go ahead and simply say my underscore message is going to be equals to, and you're going to say hello world. That's it. And you can go in here and simply print my underscore message. So what does this mean? I know there's a lot of stuff, but what does it mean? So this is called a variable, the variable name, and this is what it stores. So why am I using quotes? I'm using quotes because this is called a data type in Python called a string. So strings are stored within quotes. So you can either use single quotes this way and then this way. All right, that's a single quote, or you can use double quote. But if you use double quotes on one end, then you have to use the double quote on the other end to close it as well. Right, so that's basically it. My message is just a string saying hello world, and I'm printing my message. So I'm just storing this message in somewhere in the computer's memory, and I'm giving it a name called my message. So whenever I refer to my message variable name in my program, then it's going to go ahead and retrieve this information from the computer's memory. Again, if you're creating variable names, do not use spaces. So you cannot say my space message. You have to use underscore, or you can actually make it to be one word. But in Python, if you are having multiple words forming a variable name, it's by convention that you use underscore instead of spaces. Okay, so that's basically, so if I run the code again, it's going to go ahead and print hello, well, because we're printing this message. That's basically it. So let's go ahead and look at some other variable types that we can have. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new code cell right here, and I'm going to go ahead and create age, and I'm going to say age is going to be equal to, let's say maybe you're 23 years of age. You can create your name, and let's say your name is Alice or John, and you can create a height, your height, right? So this is height, and your height can be something, maybe 1.7, 1.75. And you can create, are you a student or not? It's okay. So I'm getting auto suggestions right here. So right, that's basically, so I can go ahead and print each of these variables. So I can say print, and I can go ahead and simply say print age, right? So that's basically, so I'm just getting some auto completions there. So you can see I'm printing age, I'm printing name, I'm printing height, and I'm printing a student. So they should return to me 23, they should return to me Alice, they should return to me height, and they should return to me true. Okay, so if you're writing true in Python, make sure the T is capitalized. Everything else is lowercase, but the T is capitalized. So once I have that going on, I'm going to go ahead and press shift and enter, or you can click on the play button. You can see we have that information printed out there. So you have created multiple variables. So at this point, you're comfortable creating variables, right? So just pay attention, no space between variable names. Use underscores if you want to keep a space. Okay, this is much deeper, much more in depth, but okay, for now I don't want to go into depth. If you follow the main course, you understand all this much closer, but for now let's keep everything just give you a glimpse of the programming landscape. Okay, so once that's done, we have different data types, so we call them data types. So age is storing a number, so integers, which are also called int for short in Python, and these are called integers. So I can just keep some code here and just say integers, and in Python refer to them as ints, just like that. We also have float. So float basically stores like floating point numbers, decimal numbers. And then we have strings, right? So strings are this one right here. So anything in single quotes or double quotes is called a string. So this is basically a string, and in Python we call them str, right? And then we will have, so just for a quiz, what do you think this is? Is this an integer or a float? So I'll let you answer that. And then you also have something called booleans. So boolean statements. So they're not only specific to Python, but programming in general. So boolean is just a true or a false. That's what a boolean is, true or a false. Okay, so you can also refer to booleans using some other terminologies, but I don't want to go into that. It's a bit too detailed. Okay, so that's basically it, and I'm just going to go ahead and press enter. So we have true, we have this print statement out here. Okay, so once that's done, my exercise to you at this point is create a variable. Let me just copy this and just paste it right here. So I have my other screen, so I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and then simply paste it here for you. So this will be for you an exercise for you to do. So exercise, create variables for your name, age, and whether you like Python or not, and then print them out. So that's your simple exercise. You can write it in the comment section in case you have any issues, so you can anyone can help you out, or I can respond to you. Okay, so that's all I want to talk about variables and data types. Quick introduction. So let's go into control flows. Right, so whenever you are writing your program, you want it to behave depending on certain inputs or certain data, right? So let's have this called num, and let's have num as 5 or 4, and you can say if num is greater than 0. So that's basically what control flows do. Let me just for now I'm just going to let me just create this up here before I do that. So sorry, not that, and just delete that. And then I'm going to create a new one, and this is going to be called control flows. So this is basically if, elif, and else statements. Okay, so don't worry about all these jargons. I'm going to explain all of them in detail. Okay, so let's look at this and let's see. We have it here. So we have a number called we have a variable called num, and it stores the integer 4. So what you want to do is to check if the number is either positive, a 0, or a negative number, right? So you can say if number is greater than print, you can just go and say positive. So if the number is greater than 0, then the number is positive, right? And then we can also check this. We can say elif. So elif is short from else if. So elif num is equals to 0, and you're going to print the number is simply 0. Else, so if the number is not positive or is not 0, then the number is negative, right? That's basically what a control flow is. So we have if, that checks this number. If it's greater than 0, then it's a positive number. If the number is equals to 0 itself, then it's 0. Else the number is a negative number, right? That's basically what a control flow is. So we can just press enter and we get positive because this is greater than is. Let me just explain to you how the computer will go through this. So the computer will come in here and then check if num is greater than 0. That's true. So if it's true, then you're going to execute this code block. Right, so this code block gets executed and all these other ones won't be executed. Right, that's basically how control flow works. If one of them is true, then the rest won't be executed. So in this case, number is greater than 4. So this print statement, which is under this if condition, is going to get printed out. And again, one very common mistake that I see beginners in Python doing is not pressing tab. So if you keep a colon, then the next line does not start from the base. So this is the base. So you press tab on your key once to move it 4 spaces ahead. Right? Or you can press space 4 times on your keyboard. Right? Yeah, so that's basically it. So now let's change this to become negative. So Python is going to go in here and check, is num greater than 0? Nope. So it's not going to execute this. Then it's going to go to elif. Is num equals to 0? Nope, that's false. So it's not going to execute this. So that's a Boolean false. And then you're going to check else, print this. So else will be printed if all of the above conditional statement fail. So you can have multiple elifs, but you can have only one else, and you can have only one if, and you can have only one else. But in between here, you can have multiple elifs, right? As much as you want, right? But the Boolean, the conditions need to be different. I mean, there's no point of checking for the same thing multiple times, right? So that, if I run this, what do you think the answer is going to be? So it is negative number. So let's run it. We're getting negative number, right? So that's basically how control flow statements work. So this results to a Boolean, a true or a false. So if I copy this and I go in here and I paste it in here and run this code, it's going to return to me a false. Right, that's basically false. And if I create number is let's say if I change number to become, let's say 4, and then run this 2, it sends me a true. So this will only get executed, this code under the if this is true. So these are Boolean statements, so they result into being true or being false. So just read it as English and don't overthink about it, and then as time goes on, you finally begin to get it. Okay, so there are different comparison operators. So what you have just used in here are called comparison operators in here. So they're called comparison operators. So I'm going to go in here and then add in the following notes for you guys. So adding these things here. So we have these things called operators, and operators can be either of equal, like this one, greater than, less than, greater than, or equal. Any math operator that you have used is the same right here. And you can also use not equals to. So this is how we use not equals to in Python or in programming in general. Not exclamation and then equals to. So if you're from mathematics background, you probably know what that is, right? So not equals to. Again, this is not you don't have to be a math genius to follow along, but basically exclamation mark equals to basically means not equal to. So a negation, you're basically negating a statement. That's what it is, a negator. Okay, so a negator simply basically what a negator does is if something is true, it's going to convert it to false, and if it's false, it's going to change it to true. That's what a negator does, right? So if you are like, hey, I don't know mathematics, I don't know what the hell is a negator, that's what it does. Convert something to its opposite version. Okay. Now it's done. So that's basically, and also you have logical operators and. So we can do all these things in one statement as well if you want to, but you can also do this thing. Let's say let's have a code block here and say if num is greater than 4 and num is less than 10, we're going to print greater than 4 and less than 10. So those are called logical operators. So if I run this, so is it greater than 4? No. So let me change this again. Let me change this back to 5. Let's run this. So it's going to output something because num is greater than 4. So this is true, and num is also less than 10. So these two statements, this one right here and this one, need to be true for this code to get executed because it's an AND operator, logical operator. If it's an OR, then one of them needs to be true and the other one can either be true or false. But if it's an AND, both of the statements needs to be true. That's basically what a logical operator is. Okay, let's move on ahead, and I'm going to give you a bit of exercise for you to practice as well if you want to work with this. And you're right here. Let us know if you have any challenges in the comment section. I would help you out, or anyone out there can help you. So the next exercise is write a program that checks if your age is above 18. Right? Okay. Now let's move on to the next. And next we're going to be looking at loops. So what is a loop in programming? So a loop basically is just a way of repeating something n number of times. If you want to do a process n number of times, you don't want to write code. Okay, let's say I want to print. Let's give an example. Let's say I want to print hello world. If I run this code, it's going to print hello world once. What if I want to print hello world 10 times? Well, you can think it's easy. Just copy paste this 10 times, or how many times you want. Perfect. Excellent. Let's say I want to do this 1,000,000 times. So I copy this code and paste 1,000,000 times. Like, I have better things to do with my time, right? So we don't do it that way. So what we do is we have what we call loops, which can repeat code blocks in X number of times, or X number of iterations, we call them in programming. So let's go in here and let's add in here statement, and it's going to be called, these are going to be loops in, okay, let's say loops, basically repeats an operation and number of iterations. That's basically it. So let's go ahead and try to do that. In here, so I'm going to say for I in range 0 to 10, I'm going to go ahead and print. I think I have that copied. Okay, perfect. So make sure that this is indented, right? So this must be indented, and I explain what indentation means. So if it's at the baseline, then you need to press tab once on your keyboard or press space 4 times. So that's basically, if whenever you see this in Python, the next line that follows needs to be indented. If it's at the baseline, press tab. If it's, or you can press space 4 times on your keyboard. So let's run this and see what we get. So we get hello world this amount of times. So if I want to increase this to let's say 100 times, I just have to change that number to 100 and I get my 100 hello worlds. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. That's basically how loops work in Python. So there are different types of loops. You have something called while loops and for loops. So I'm going to go ahead and show you an example of while loop right here. So let me just I want to hide the output. So that's how you hide the output. Just hide it right there. Hide the output. Okay, good. So I'm going to paste in some code in here. So we have a variable called count, and we are saying while count is less than 5, less or equals to 5, then print count and then increment count. So count, this is the same as count equals to count plus 1. So this is just a short form of this. So you can just simply do count count plus 1. So is this the same way of doing it, right? So if whatever works for us. So let's use this since it's just an introduction course. Let's use this. Later on we can do the plus equals to. But the plus equals to is a very common thing to do in programming. Okay, so once we have that there, so what I simply want to go ahead and do is that we have a count variable. While the count variable is less or equals to 5, if that's true, then you're going to go in here, print, and then increment it. So the first iteration will go with 1 less than 5. Yeah, it's going to go here, print 1, and then the count now become 1 plus 1, which is going to be 2, and then 2 less than 5. Yeah, go in here and then repeat that until we hit a point whereby this statement is no longer true. Then we can go in here. That's called a while loop. So let's run that so you can see. Right. Perfect. So that's all I wanted us to cover about loops. Now let's go ahead and look at what we have called collections in Python. So collections are just a form of storing data in a collection. That's more or less of it. So let's say you have a bunch of names and you want to store them as one variable that you can access. So you can store them in collections. So we have different types of collections in Python. You have something called lists. We have dictionaries. We have sets. We have different types of way of storing information. So let me just go ahead and bring in this code right here. So we're going to go ahead and let's call this thing, let me just create a note for you guys, so you can call this, these are called collections. Okay, so I have I'm going to say my fruits. So my underscore fruits, my fruits is going to be equals to this, and you're going to go in and say apple right here, and you're going to go ahead and say bananas and then you're going to go and have something called a cherry. My favorite food, my favorite fruit actually in there called apple. I like apples. What I also like is an avocado, I think, and yeah, those are my favorite fruits right there. So what I can simply go ahead and do is just print my fruits, my underscore fruits there. And if I print my fruits, all of them get printed out. But the advantage of storing elements in collection is that you can access each of these elements if you want to. So you're going to go ahead and simply do print my fruits and then 0. So why am I saying 0? Like this is 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So why am I saying 0? Why don't I say print fruit 1, which is going to be for apples? Well, in programming, we usually start counting from 0. Not all programming languages, but like 90% of them, they all start counting from 0. So it's called zero-based indexing. So if I go ahead and say my fruits my fruits square brackets and then 0, which is the index number. So the index number will be 0. This will be 1. This would be 2. And this will be 3. Basically, take the length of the list minus 1. So if the length of the list is basically how many elements are within the list minus 1. That's your index number. Okay. So if I say my fruit 0, it's going to refer to apple. If I say my fruit 1, it's going to refer to bananas. And this is very critical, and a lot of mistakes that beginners make is they forget that in humans we start counting from 1. Computers start counting from 0. You can think of it like that. Okay, so now you can go ahead and print. Let's say this is 0, 1, 2. Let's say I want to print cherry, so I'm going to put in 2 instead of 3. Run it. Poof. There we go. Okay, so now let's say how do I add more stuff into my collection? So I can do that. I can say my underscore fruit dot append, and you can go ahead and append something. So append basically means add something else to it. So my fruit dot append. So what the hell is dot append? Okay, now this is a bit more advanced to you, but I wouldn't explain this in this video. You can follow the deeper course and you understand what are all this called. So this is actually a method, but I don't want to confuse you guys. So let's just imagine that we don't know what it is for now, but what we simply know is that it adds something to our existing collection. So I'm going to go in here. So this is actually called a Python list. So I'm going to go in here. Sorry, I'm going to go ahead and print this. And I'm going to go ahead and print my underscore fruit after adding it. So if I run it, so this was before adding, now after adding, this was before adding, which outputs this. After adding oranges, and then I print out again, now you can see oranges in here. So that's how append works in Python. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at another. There are more to lists than this. This is a very simple crash course. So there are more, you can do much more than just this with lists in Python. Okay, so now let's look at this. Let's look at what we call dictionaries in Python. So what you have looked at so far is called a Python list. In other programming languages, it's called an array. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and now look at what we call a dictionary. Okay, so if you let me not say anything complicated. So let's say my underscore profile, it's going to be equals to a variable, and then this variable we need to use the curly braces on your keyboard. So press shift and then curly braces on your keyboard. So what this simply does is creates what we want to call a dictionary, which is a key value pair mapping. So we just have I can have a name, and then once I have a name, I'm going to say my name colon, and then this is the key, what we call the key, and we also have its value. So let's say my name is Prince. That's it. And then we can keep colon and keep adding key value pair. So this is a key, and this is its associated value. So using the key, we can get its value. So let's say age, and I'm going to say 23. There we go. So if I go ahead and simply print and then say my underscore profile, just like that, and if I run this, it's going to go ahead and output the dictionary. Prince, and sorry, a key of name, and then its value is Prince. A key of age, its value is Prince. So how do I get basically let's say I want to use this key to get this value? So I can simply say my underscore profile dot, you can use dot get method, but let me show you another method we can use. You can simply say dot get, and then you can get the name, just like this. So if I go ahead and run this, so you can see it's going to return to me my name, which is Prince. So I use the key to access its value. That's called a key value pair mapping. Okay, so again, this has a lot of things you can do with it, and it's really crucial in programming. So I'm going to give you guys a bit of exercise to practice with. And the exercise is create a dictionary for yourself with your name, age, and favorite color. Print each value out one after the other. Okay, and more of this in the actually main course. So now we'll look at loops. Now we'll look at collections. Okay, now let's look at the final project. Let's try to go ahead and build a simple Python calculator that takes in two numbers and returns either their sum, or their product, or their if you divide them, right? So let's go ahead and say number underscore 1 is going to be equals to input. So input is just a way that you take in numbers in Python. So it's just going to say, input is just a method that function you use in Python to take in user input. So input, and you put in a string saying what the user sees. So the user will see enter a number, and then the user can type in something. And so we have to store our first number, and then to store our second number, and then you can go ahead and use the control flows and say if okay, now I want to do something else. So I'm going to say select, and sorry okay, let me just do this. The first thing we need to do is that we need the user to select an operation, either an addition. So say get user operation selection. So we're going to say operation is equals to enter an operation, and then you're going to have a list of operations. So I'm going to say /n, which is just for short line in programming, and for new line, my bad. So n, I'm going to simply say 1 will be addition, and then /n it will be 2, and 2 will be subtraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's run this code. So ask the user to select an operation, either a 1 or a 2, and depending, and then we ask the user to enter the first number and the second number. So let's run that. So you can see select an operation, and then I'm going to go ahead and add in my operation. Let's say I want to do an addition. Poof, it's going to add me the first number 10, the second number 20. That's it, our program ends. So now that we have these numbers, we need to do something with these numbers. So we're going to say if the operation is equals to string, and you're going to say 1. So if the operation is 1, if there's a user selected operation is 1, then you're going to do print. What you're simply going to do is print simply number 1 plus number 2. So I have a lot of autocorrection. I wish I turned this on before recording the video. Anyway, so that's basically it. So if the user selects 1, And the user input this way is actually, let me just do something else. So after this I want to have a new line. It's much easier than having this, right? It's not clean, so that's why I'm just putting /n. There are better ways of doing this, but for now let's keep it simple this way. So first number, second number, and then if the operation is equals to 1. Why am I saying 1 is strings? Because these inputs are strings. Okay, so can you add two strings together? Can you do that? Let's find out. Okay, let's go in here. So I'm going to select 1, so addition. So I'm going to put in 2 and 3. Okay, 2 and 4. So why is it returned to me 24 instead of 2 plus 4 is 6? So what's wrong? And the reason why is that this input returns you a Python string. We talked about what a string is, right, in the data type. So you can go back to that section if you don't remember. But basically, we need to convert these numbers into what we call an integer. So say int, and then we pass in make sure I close this. So int is just a method in function, a function in Python to help us convert basically strings into numbers. So if I run this again, I'm going to select a addition, and then I'm going to input 3, 2 and 4, and that should be 6. Perfect. So now that's working fine. So that's basically what we need to do. But our program has a little flaw. What if I put in 1.3 and 4? Oh, sorry, my bad. I didn't bad operation right there. So I'm just input some random numbers, gonna error out anyway. Okay, let's run this again. Run that. So I'm going to select addition of 1.33, and I'm going to what am I doing wrong? So let's run this one. So I'm going to select addition, and I'm going to select 1.3. It errors out, and I'm going to select 1.3. It errors out, and the reason why it's erroring out is that integers store only whole numbers like 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it's failing to convert this into an integer. That's why it's returning to us an error. So the best way to do this is if you're doing an operation, you can either use either integers or floats or decimals, right? So float, so it needs to be float instead of an integer. So float, just like this. So that's basically what you have. So two numbers, and you're just adding them up. So they can either be an integer or if a decimal number. It would all work. So you get 6.0, right? Because if you add two floats, two decimals together, you end up getting a decimal, right? Okay, so run this again, and let's say operation 1, and then we can input so if I say 20.5, and then another one I input 2, I should get 22.5. Perfect. Now our program works fine. So let's add in the last condition, which is gonna be elif, where we learned elif. Else if the operator is equals to 2, right? So if the operator is equals to 2, then you're going to subtract the two numbers. So if the user didn't select either 1 or 2, we are going to hit the else block, and we're going to output invalid operation. So let's run this, and I'm going to say I want to do subtraction this time, and I'm going to input 20.4, and then I'm going to put in 10. So bring this up here, run it again. Now you can see we got the results in there. So what's all these weird numbers? And that's another topic we can talk about in Python. But basically we got the result, right? So you can just simply round this off to the nearest whole number. But anyway, that's basically it. A simple calculator in Python and this quick crash course in Python. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about in this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you find value in this video, don't forget to like don't forget to like the video. Give me a comment in the comment section, and let me know your opinion. If you have any questions, let me know. So what exercise can you guys really write? So yeah, so that's basically it. And yeah, thank you guys. And again, if you want deeper course on introduction to programming in Python, I have a whole series on it, and I'm going to put that link in the video description. I'm also going to put a card up here so you guys can watch that whole course. It takes you from the beginning fundamentals to advanced concepts, and then to projects, which you learn how to build a web application, learn how to do machine learning projects or AI projects, and then you learn how to build video games, right? For those of you who are interested in building video games. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to talk about in this video, and I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you guys, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.